And we are back with Kim and Anna, and these ladies are going to walk us through how we created the back end for our Flock app. But first, why don't we start with a little bit of an intro, like one sentence, who are you?
I'm Kim Schlesinger, and I'm a developer and teacher at Galvanize.
I'm Anna Lewis. I used to be a teacher, and now I'm a developer.
Right on. And we all pulled together. Anna, I don't think we knew you were joining us till like day before the hackathon, right?
Like 10 minutes into the
10 minutes into the hackathon.
I was like, can I join you guys?
It was amazing. And then we really needed you because we needed help.
Yeah, it was cool.
So thanks for doing that.
No problem.
Perfect. So it was really important for us to have somewhere to like host everything and bring it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you tell us about the tools that you use, just a little high level on both Express and Heroku?
So Anna and I were the backend developers on this project, and we created a static server so that when our Android and iOS app needed to get information, they would send a request to us, and then we would serve up those files based on what they asked for.
Mm-hmm.
And so the things that made us be able to create the backend was the Express.js generator, and then we deployed all that code to Heroku so that we had a URL that the client side could ask to get data from.
Yeah. So if we had like 3 years to make this project, would you still use Express?
I would.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, just so easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Express is primarily for front end, right? It's a front end JavaScript framework.
It's actually, it's a very thin layer. It's like a library that goes on top of Node that simplifies all of the cool things that Node does.
Oh.
Yeah. It makes it super easy.
Oh.
Which is great.
So it's like when you're in third grade and you're like reading Shakespeare and they have real Shakespeare on the left page and like
No
fake
Fear
cheater.
Shakespeare?
Yes. So my mom got me into literature.
That's amazing.
It's good. So that's like the cheater's Shakespeare for Node.js. Perfect. I love it. So Express.js is what we use, and that's still what you would use for like a long-term project.
Oh,
And then Heroku, tell us more about that.
So Heroku is a place where you can, we deployed our server thing, so it was running it for us. And it usually gives you like a really funny URL that's like some kind of adjective and some noun. My favorite that I've ever gotten was invulnerable croissant.
It just auto-generates for you?
Yeah.
Do you have any control over what you get?
I think you can name it, but like,
pay for
But
it.
why would you?
yeah, why would you? And so what it does, it gives you that URL. And so your front end can go and be like, okay, give me all of the companies that we have listed, or not the companies, the schools that we have listed that are within, a certain radius of this city. And so it's like, hey, Heroku, we need you, send the things. And so like Heroku sends the things.
Perfect. It's got all the information and the things that we need.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Okay, so let's dive in a little bit more with which one did you set up first? Was it Heroku or Express?
Definitely Express.
Yes.
Definitely Express. Okay, let's take a deeper dive into how you did that.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay, so what are we looking at here?
So this is the documentation for how to set up the Express generator.
Perfect.
And
And you can scroll on it.
okay. You'll need Node installed as well as the Node package manager.
So even though we're not really using Node, because it's fake Node, you get, or like Cliff Notes Node.
You are using Node.
Mm-hmm.
You just aren't working with the Node functions directly.
Yeah.
You're writing like shorthand for them.
Yes.
Kinda, yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So the
For
first
sure you're still using real Node. That's cool.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So the first thing is that very top line, you want to install the Express generator package, and you want to install it globally so you can access it anytime. So you do that, download that, and then you can see all the different options. I do it slightly differently, but then you would create a directory called My App, and then install Node, it looks like, or install the Express generator.
What is it that you do slightly differently? You knew I was going to ask that.
It's so much easier.
Yeah.
The command
Right.
is Express and then the name of the directory you want. So like Express Boulder Bubbles router, and then
Yeah,
and then it
it's
generates the
so
whole
easy.
thing.
And it tells you about, like, it goes ahead and like, it's like, hey, you're going to use these standard Node packages probably. And so like, then you install them afterwards. Like, It does all the things.
It does all the
Perfect.
things. And so this is our directory for all of the code that we had, and most of it was created by the Express generator.
Mhm.
And then we went into the app, and we actually don't think we added anything here. We actually took some things out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the main file that we were working in was this one, where we had all of our logic for if the user says, yes, we would like to hire remote workers, and yes, we'd like to train people, and this is our location,
Mhm.
then we can give them back all of this information.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're serving up the files or serving up the data that then that we would render for
Mhm.
the user to look at.
Yeah, and so like this part here is like after that's like what the link to the Heroku is. So it'll say, be like whatever the name is,
Right.
.heroku.com /yes/no/Boulder. And so then it will pull the ones that go with that.
So the closest thing I can think of to this is Android annotations, because I'm an Android developer. And that's like shorthand cliff notes for real Android. But if you
Okay.
need to, you can still get under the hood and write real Android, real Java, if you want to. And so is this the same where if I wanted to, I could still
Yeah.
get under the hood and write Node.js?
Mhm.
Okay, so I still have that option.
Yeah.
Okay, does Express.js, how often do you encounter bugs that you wouldn't see in Node? Because you're introducing more information here, so there's more possibility for...
That's true.
That's a good question. Everything is a level abstracted, a level higher, and so
Mhm.
although I don't encounter bugs with Express very often, if I did, I would have to think what's the name of the thing I'm doing, like router.get, and what would the equivalent be in Node, and sort of how to debug it that way. But if you're just building, you just want a static server, or if you're building just sort of a typical CRUD app, you really don't change a whole lot from what Express generates. And so
Yeah.
it's a lot like the Rails generator, where you get all the routes and all of the templates. And
It's just ready to go.
Like it. Easy. Is there any other tips that people should know if they're going to bring Express.js into a Hackathon project?
I would say look at the documentation, and looking at documentation. Oh, the documentation for Express is excellent.
It's
yeah.
so good.
But also there's a lot of great tutorials, like how to build your first project using Express. And I would just follow those step by step and do a little customizing, and then deploy to Heroku early and often.
Yes. Early, for sure.
So speaking of Heroku, why is it important to deploy to Heroku early and often?
It's just easier. So, you start out and you do your first deployment. Everything goes great.
Right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Then, you're probably on the right path. And then, you deploy again and you're like, oh, there's an error. It's easier to fix then than if you get to the very end and you're like, all right, cool. Now we're going to add everything into Heroku. And you get in, you just don't want to be in that place.
So it's like how you want to build along the way and test your
kind of like
projects
how,
live along the way.
when you're using GitHub, you're making your commits just in case something goes wrong.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we've all been burned.
Anna and I we were pressed for time toward the deadline, but we had been continually committing and pushing up to Heroku. And so at the end, when we were like, oh, all these fast fixes, it was really easy to make those changes and deploy to Heroku, as opposed to being like, well, shit, now we have to deploy to Heroku and we can't do it and everything's broken and nothing works.
We didn't realize until 5 minutes before
Exactly.
submission that we had no idea what was going on. So take us a little bit more through Heroku.
Here, let me pull up the...
Yeah. Or specifically how we interacted with it with this app.
Sure. Let's see. So really, I'm trying to figure out where we would have... Oh, there it is. Salty Refuge. So this
That's
is
a good
our
one.
server.
So that's our auto-generated.
Yep.
And so what
So
happens when the either the Android or the iOS app, when the user types in their feedback and they say, do you want to hire remote workers? If they say yes, that gets put in the URL.
Yeah.
Do you want to train people on the job? If you say yes, that gets put in the URL. And where are you located? Longmont. Then this is what gets served up. And so this is all of that data.
So you're sort of placing if this was like a restaurant analogy, and the Heroku is the waiter. So you're placing your order by adding to this URL.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
And is that always how you would request something from the Heroku server, or are there other ways to interact with that as well?
I think it would be typically.
I think it's pretty typical. Our server is static, so you can't add data to it or take data out of it. As a user, a more complicated app, you would be able to do that.
Right. Yeah, and we talked about that a little bit before. So if we wanted to add some kind of dynamic submission through our app, like you are contributing to our data along the way, how would we then build out a database to handle multiple directions of information?
So we'd have to set it up with Heroku being like, hey, we're also going to add a database to this. We're going to use this kind. And, you just got to let it know before you do it.
The waiter's not also the storage shed. So you need to add on a storage shed.
Exactly.
Okay. Have either of you ever worked with bringing on a database?
Yeah.
Cool.
So on line 8, we're saying, hey, router, go and get all of this information based on what the user passes in. We could create a router.post method and say, hey, based on all the information that the user is asking us to enter into our database, then Express would handle that, and then it would put it into the database. So those operations are totally available. We just didn't do them for this app.
Yeah, we didn't need to.
Exactly. Which is cool.
48 hours. Yeah. Next hackathon.
Exactly.
So when you were thinking about this, I'm sure you're both really familiar with Heroku. Are there alternatives to Heroku that you would have considered, or if we had this functionality in the app, we would have chosen this other service instead?
So initially, I tried to deploy our server to Firebase because that's something that's really easy.
Yeah.
And it actually will not, it can't handle server-side code or functionality. So deploying to Heroku, you could do Pivotal Cloud Foundry.
There's a couple others.
There are a couple of others, but Heroku is free, and once you get the command line tool downloaded, it's pretty simple. And there's a lot of good documentation, blog posts, tutorials about it. So,
the fact that it's so
AWS.
common.
Yeah, you could use
AWS. So Amazon Web Services.
And then it would have databases built in if you wanted to, or if you needed to have that functionality later.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, any other last tips for Heroku and how people should interact or build with that? If you redid this hackathon weekend, would you interact with Heroku any differently?
No.
Probably not.
Killed it. Love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much, ladies.